Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hog's Tie. People say the third preseason game is the most telling, and this one has plenty to say. We'll chat with the Washington Post's Mark Bullock about what happened and any other things to consider as we ramp up to the final preseason game and in turn the season. Stick around. It's the Hog's Tie.
By fans, for fans, the Hog's Tie. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
All right, Hog's Tie crew is with you, ready for another episode. Sean here. I got Steve and Alex as well, the Hog's Tie crew, and Mr. Mark Bullock. What's up, Mark? How are you, man?
I'm pretty good. How are you guys?
We're good.
We're good. Well, two of us are dry.
Yeah, there you go.
One of us not dry, but yeah, I'm as some of you may know, I've mentioned on the show before, I live in Texas. I'm in the Houston area, and we are, as we speak, suffering through the worst flood in the city's history here. So, I'm fine. Nobody worry about me. Not that you would, but there are thousands of people who aren't. So I just like to make a quick plug. Please, out there, if you can spare a dime or a dollar or more, please give some money to some of these relief organizations that are helping out, because it's a really devastating situation down here. We've had 30 inches of rain and still climbing. There's a post up on our website that lists some sites, the Salvation Army, the Red Cross,
all the good ones.
Yeah, United Way of Texas, and there's more on our website. So please, if you can do your part, it'd be greatly appreciated down here, because it's an awful situation.
Yeah.
So I didn't mean to bring the show down, but please help.
No. Steve lives down there. I have a lot of family down there. My wife's whole family is from Houston. They all live in that Katy area that's, getting pretty heavily hit right now. So, I'm all for it. When Steve was like, hey, I was thinking of doing this, I just said, go ahead. Yeah, I don't care that it has nothing to do with our team. But I will say this. Houston fans, to bring it back to football, they hate the Cowboys almost as much as Redskins fans. So that's a good reason to give them some money.
I was sitting here trying to wonder if we had to compare the Hurricane to the Redskins game against the Bengals, but they did end up winning the game.
Yes.
More importantly, so I
that
guess
first
it's not
quarter,
an apt description.
Yeah, well, so that's a perfect seg. Let's get into it. Like we said, we have Mark Bullock on with us, so we got to get his thoughts about the game. Maybe we can start, Mark, just general thoughts maybe on the offense, and then we can do the same thing for the defense here through the third preseason game.
Yeah, sure. I think everyone is kind of in agreement. The offense obviously started slow, as they have done throughout preseason.
Yeah.
I think the running game kind of got going, and there were some definite positives to come out of that. That it was certainly the best blocking we've seen from their offensive line so far this preseason.
Mm-hmm.
And had they not had the illegal shift, I think, penalty on the first series, they would have had that 3rd and 1 converted, and they would have converted that into a first down, and maybe that would have got some momentum going to start it. But penalties do happen, annoyingly.
It's the classic Redskins, man. I feel like we're always on this show talking to you about if they hadn't had this penalty, if they hadn't undone it all,
Right.
But yeah, eventually, they got into it eventually. I think it was probably about the second quarter they finally started to click a little bit. I think it took Jordan Reed getting onto the field, and they started to feed Reed a little bit to really get them going. And then they started clicking, and I think they showed enough positive signs to avoid the complete doom and gloom that was set to happen after that first quarter. But yeah, I think offensively they've just shown barely enough to not be completely worried about.
Well, Mark, let's start with the linchpin of the offense, Kirk Cousins. And by the way, on the day, stat-wise, he was 10 of 19 for 109 yards. His quarterback rating is only 47.9 thanks to the pick six. Now, Kirk has basically looked like not himself. He's looked like old bad Kirk, not good Kirk this preseason, with the exception, really, like you said, of that scoring drive in the second quarter against the Bengals, which was they leaned on the run game in that drive. So what is going on with Kirk Cousins? What have you seen on film that has made him look kind of mediocre?
It's a number of things. It's he's complained. Well, I'm not sure he's necessarily complained about protection, but they've said the protection's not been great for him, and at times it hasn't been. Other times he's sticking on reads too long, and a lot of it is the theory goes that they've struggled with the transition from having reliable guys like Garcon and Djax to go to going to Pryor and Doxson, and obviously not having Reed there, and Crowder's missed games and stuff like that. So he's kind of unfamiliar with his receivers, and that's maybe caused him to hesitate an extra second longer than he would do. And then in the NFL, if you hesitate for a second, windows close like that. So that probably plays into it. I would agree with you. He has definitely been mediocre this preseason, and that's probably being generous to him. But it's not something I'm desperately concerned about. I think it does take some time to get on the same page as new receivers. Although in the past, one of the things I've been impressed with Cousins was when they've had injuries, like to Deshaun Jackson or whoever in the past at receiver, they've been able to bring in different guys. I remember Mo Harris came in at a point last year, and I think he threw him 3 straight passes and trusted him to make those catches, and he did. So it is slightly odd that he's struggling with that, but it's hard to say exactly what's going on with him. There was a couple throws where he's throwing high to Pryor, which I don't know whether that's just... I haven't really looked at it in detail whether he's doing anything mechanically wrong. I don't think so. I think he's just gone through a bit of a slump and knocking off a bit of rust of the off season, I guess.
Well, you talked about in the beginning about the protections being an issue, and I think any fan worth their salt, especially a Redskins fan, should be able to see that the line has not looked right so far. Now, do you think this concern is more going to be just about injuries so far, or what else have you kind of seen that's been going wrong?
Yeah, with the protection, I think fans don't like to hear it's preseason, we don't really game plan, we go with basic looks and that kind of thing. Everyone hates to hear that, but there is something to it. With the Ravens and the Packers, they did send far more blitzes than I'm used to seeing in preseason. And it wasn't just we're sending a 5th guy regularly. It was we'll send a 5th guy, we'll send a 6th guy, and we're not going to say make it obvious where we're sending them from. We're going to send a safety, we're going to send a slot corner, we'll send an inside linebacker, we'll stunt and game all game long. So. If you don't game plan specifically for that, you're not going to be ready to pick it up. And during a regular week of the season, you'll be far more prepared to know what their stunts are from their different looks and be able to pick it up. I think that plays into it.
So you think that Terrell Suggs beating Trent on the first play of that Ravens game, was that a stunt? To me, it looked like he just flat out blew it.
Oh, Trent, there definitely has been some just bad play from the offensive line. But guys like Trent Williams, I'm really not worried about. He has too much of a history of very, very high quality play that you give him a pass in any preseason game. Brandon Sheriff. He had a better game against the Bengals, but he struggled up until the Bengals game. And I think everyone was slightly concerned. But again, it's preseason and game planning goes into it. And I think that a big part of, specifically with the run game, pass protection is a part of it as well. But with the run game, they've had problems with targeting. And that was something that Jay Gruden mentioned in a number of different press conferences after games when they'd struggled to run the ball, and Gruden said we've had a couple of issues with targeting and not getting everyone blocked properly.
Can you explain what you mean for the sake of the audience by targeting?
Sure. So targeting is the job of the center. The center has to point out the Mike or the middle linebacker, and that's where the protection scheme is set to. So that's their reference point of, well, we're going to block this guy. And so in a basic 4-3 front, you have the 4 down linemen, which have to be accounted for by the defensive line, and then usually the Mike backer has to get accounted for by the center or a guard of some sort.
Right.
So to target it correctly, they have to point out the Mike, and then they have to set the run to that based on the front and the position of all the different guys. So if you have targeting correctly, then everyone should be going to the right assignment and everyone should get blocked up properly. But if you miss a target, then there might be an edge defender that comes completely unblocked, or a Mike linebacker that just has nobody blocking him in the hole and he can burst through and make the tackle for a loss, sort of thing.
Now, you said this is a lot to do with the center, and I mean, we would kind of be remiss to not talk about the fact that we had a different starting center this week in Chase Roullier.
Yes.
Replacing Spencer Long. What did you kind of see out of him? I know personally when I was watching him weeks before, I liked what I saw, but I saw a lot of him kind of deer in the headlights early on. But I mean, what do you think about him this week?
I've been really encouraged with what I've seen. When I watched him after the draft, I thought his pass pro was going to be fine. He wasn't going to have real issues in pass protection because he does a really good job of keeping his man in front of him, of cutting off second moves, being able to re-anchor if he gets beat. And that's never been a real issue for him. He's always been pretty solid in pass protection. It was run blocking it wasn't an issue, but it wasn't great and it needed work, which he seems to have improved greatly from his college days.
Standard stuff for every college player now, it seems.
Yeah. And then it was picking up the calls and how quickly he could get adjusted with the calls, and the speed of the NFL game. And against the Bengals, he didn't look out of place at all. And I don't want to say Spencer Long has been screwing up all the targeting and the protection calls and what have you, because it's impossible for us to say that. But I don't necessarily think that it's a coincidence that Roullier has come in and they managed to run the ball relatively well, and pass pro pretty well as well.
Well, that was where I was going with my question, really, because I don't think it's a coincidence that Chase Roullier comes in and all of a sudden the interior of the offensive line isn't getting beaten by stunts and there's missed protection calls and whatnot. So the $1 million question really about Roullier is, are we going to see sometime soon Roullier as a starting center and then Spencer Long replaces the, immovable Sean Laval?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this question a fair bit because of the sort of Roullier has been getting. I'm not sure I didn't want to phrase it as I think it's all Spencer Long's fault and Roulier's come in and suddenly they're fine.
Right.
Because they've specifically said the past week that they were going to take more time to game plan for the Bengals, and Gruden knows them pretty damn well, so he'll have a pretty good idea of what they like to do both offensively and defensively. I mean, he wanted to hire their defensive coordinator to be his defensive coordinator, so he knows the scheme relatively well. So from that perspective, Roullier had an advantage. And then they did a few things here and there where they helped out Roullier a little bit, whereas they would have put that all on Spencer Long's plate. So I don't necessarily think Long will have to fight hard to get his job back when he comes back from injury, unless Roullier really does a fantastic job. Say Long misses week 1 and Roullier comes in and does an amazing job, and they run all over the Eagles for 150 yards, then maybe they go, well, we don't want to disrupt what we've got. They stick with what they got. I think Long is better at center than he is at guard. Sean Laval had a pretty good game against the Bengals, I thought. I know he's been subject to criticism from Redskins fans pretty much since he signed, bar maybe like 1 month when he was injured after playing one decent game.
Right.
It's true.
So, it's true. I think he's pretty solidly set at left guard. I would think Long will come back in unless they, as I said, they get off to an amazing start or he has a setback with his injury or what have you. I think Long will come back in, but having that depth at centre with Roulier ready to step in, and I think he definitely would have impressed with the way he played, and having him ready to step in at centre is a huge bit of depth for them.
I mean, he's our first competent backup center we've had run here in forever. I mean, unless you want to call Austin Reeder a competent backup center, I'm glad they're finally planning for it. I guess that leads naturally to the running backs. Samaje Perine has been sort of the toast of the town in some respects, if amongst the fan base before the game started. Rob Kelly seems to be firmly entrenched as the starter. Tell us your views of the running game after watching 3 preseason games.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that assessment that Rob Kelly's pretty firmly entrenched as the starter. I think Perine, unless he had absolutely torn up preseason, I think he was always kind of set for a backup role of spelling Kelly when he was tired, or on sort of maybe 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, or goal line situations, maybe they hand it off to him. Although I don't know why you'd necessarily need to take Kelly out of the game for that. He is a power back himself. So I think that's kind of the way that's going to play out. And perhaps Chris Thompson, the way I think we saw yesterday, we saw a screen from Jay Gruden, right. Which was it definitely wasn't a preseason play with the amount of action that they put on it, with the reverse and
one
whatnot.
of the fanciest plays I think they've done all preseason.
Yeah, that's 100%. That's a regular season play. So.
You're talking about the one with the fake reverse to Grant, and then there was the screen, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That was unbelievable for a preseason. It's unbelievable play for his preseason game.
Who would bite on a fake reverse to Grant? I mean, you're not going to run a reverse to Grant.
It's really, that is more just about giving the linebackers something else to key. They have to they have to see it and go, oh wait, there's someone, and then when they realize it's Grant, they probably run back out to the screen. But it gives them that half second of hesitation.
Sure.
Well, I'll tell you what made my tender heart flutter, about the run game yesterday or Sunday rather. Was, on the scoring drive in the second quarter, number one, we saw Gruden rely on the run game over and over and over again and repeatedly do it, which he doesn't usually do. But I also saw some power I formation. He did that maybe 3 times.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of power I out of Jay. Are we going to see that more, you think, or is that just him experimenting, or what?
I really don't know, to be honest with you, because yesterday we saw some inside zone from those kind of I formation looks, which
was really nice.
Yeah, the inside zone is something that they didn't really run much last year. They used outside zone, but if they wanted to run inside, they would use the duo play, which is Jay Gruden loves, or some other form of gap scheme play.
Right.
They wouldn't really use the inside zone, which is a shame, really, because it complements the outside zone so well. And when the two run together, I mean, you just look at when Shanahan was in town and how well that offense always ran the ball, and that was just inside zone, outside zone, inside zone, outside zone, and it ripped off runs constantly. Right. So I've always said that I would personally prefer them to pick one scheme. If they want to go power, then go power, but stick to that and specialize in it. If they want to go zone, stick to zone and specialize at zone. But Gruden, being Gruden, I think when he first was hired, he said that there wasn't a play in a playbook that he's never not liked. So I think he tries to install just about every run play there has ever been. Yeah, it's really hard to say exactly what run they'll do, what type of runs they'll use. I certainly would like to see them stick to zone, which they seemed to do a little bit more of yesterday to help Roulier at center. Right. But that being said, they still used different. You're not a fan
of gap-based power I formation stuff? I think our whole line seems to be suited for it. They're a bunch of big hosses,
You can be big and you can still run the zone. They're still all pretty athletic guys. I mean, you saw the way they got out on that screen. Roulier was down the field. Val made a great cut. I mean, Trent Williams was 30 yards downfield in front of Chris Thompson. So they're all plenty athletic enough to run the outside zone and inside zone stuff. I mean, personally, I just prefer
probably the most athletic defense or offensive lineman in the NFL, arguably.
Trent Williams, certainly. Yeah. So I think they could absolutely run the zone scheme, and I've always personally had a preference for it. That's probably just because I started really studying football when Shanahan was the head coach and installing that scheme.
You're not old enough to remember John Riggins hitting the A gap, with on the 50 gut play and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
That's a staple of Redskins football. Tight ends. I think we all know what Jordan Reed can do. Nobody's concerned about that. To me, the big battle is Sprinkle versus Carrier. And I don't think it's as clear as anybody. I don't think it's clear at all what's going to happen. I think Carrier seems to be outperforming what I expected him to do. What do you think in that regard?
Yeah, it's an odd one because I've been trying to look out for Sprinkle to see how he's been doing, and he's just not getting on the field. He's playing the odd snap here and there, but he's just not on the field consistently. And I've tweeted out a couple times that I'm wondering whether they're trying to hide him, not let him get tape for other teams to see, and try to stash him on the practice squad for a year because maybe he's not quite ready. And that was what I thought when he was drafted, was that he has certainly a lot of potential. He's got such a good frame. He's got long arms. He has really high potential as both a blocker and as a pass catcher.
Right.
But more so as a blocker. But he needed technique work. He needed to improve his route running, and he needed to solidify his technique as a blocker. So I thought he would probably take a year to really get up to speed. But down the line, that could pay off with that development. So I'm wondering whether that's the situation there, whether they might try to stash him on the practice squad, and that's why they're not really playing him that often in preseason.
Since we're on the topic of pass catchers, Terrell Pryor's our new number one receiver. We've seen him drop one he definitely should have had, and one he got hands on and should have caught there in the first game.
Right.
So sort of I think the $1 million question, quite literally, for this offense for the year really is Terrell Pryor going to become the type of number one quality receiver that the Redskins can rely on to make up the production that we're losing with the departure of Pierre Garçon and Deshaun Jackson?
I mean, it's tough to put him with those names because those two are two of the better receivers in the league, and I think Skins fans have been very much spoiled with those guys for the past few years, and they were both very much underappreciated. That being said, I think Pryor will turn out fine, and he will be pretty damn good for them this year.
Fingers crossed.
Party huzzah to that. Yeah.
Because, I mean, you just look at it as last year he played with the Browns with something like 6 different quarterbacks. No other help. And he put up a great year as his first year as a receiver. And as I mentioned earlier, Cousins did well throwing to different guys like Mo Harris and trusting them to go and make catches when he had hardly thrown to them all season. And so naturally you'd think those two would cross and they'd be productive together. Whether there's a case of I don't want to say trying too hard, but maybe overcomplicating things by trying to get on the same page. I'm not sure, but I think they'll get there. They'll figure it out at some point. I would expect sooner rather than later, and I think those two will be fine.
I mean, the good news there is we can always rely on at least 3 other guys to still be very reliable in Davis, Reed, and Crowder. So
exactly,
if we're relying on them for a few weeks while Pryor gets into the rhythm, we'll be okay.
Yep.
Certainly teams in worse positions than that.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you a defensive question. Change gears here. We got 2 defensive linemen here. This has been bugging me. Mcclain and McGee. They are not doing anything to impress me for what we're paying them. Am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong, please.
I mean, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. That's your opinion, but
no, you can tell him he's wrong. It's all right, Mark.
I don't necessarily disagree. I would say McClain until this week, I basically seen nothing from. I think he had 1 pass rush, or was it it was 1 run play last week where he made a nice play, worked off of a block on the backside of the run, chased it down. But other than that, I had seen basically nothing from him, and I couldn't remember him doing anything whatsoever. This week he had a better game. He played more with the ones, and he played as one of the defensive ends in the base front. He had a couple of decent pass rushes from nickel, kicking inside slightly. I have seen some people suggest that he would be a cut candidate. I do not think they would cut him given the contract they've given him. That's too much. I can
tell you, as having analyzed it specifically, they can't cut McClain. Not this year. It's impossible.
It's far too much of a cap hit to do that. So I think he'll make the team. And that defensive line rotation, he'll figure his way onto it somehow. And hopefully he'll pick it up and sort of start getting into the swing of things now that the season's actually here. But I'd agree he definitely hasn't lived up to the contract that he was given. Stacey McGee is a little bit different. I've seen flashes of him every week. Now he hasn't been. He's sort of in a similar situation where he hasn't been with the ones. He played more with the twos. But he's every week I've seen 3 or 4 plays from him where he's done his job. And I mean, when they signed him, he was never going to be a huge, big-named guy. He wasn't going to be J.J. Watt inside making number of sacks and blowing up every play. He was always going to be a stout run defender that could offer a little bit of push in pass situations. And that's exactly what he is. So I think they're kind of getting what they expected out of him as a solid D-line rotation guy. Whether they overpaid for that, I'll let you guys debate that. But I think that's what they expected, and that's what they're getting. But McClain certainly, to this point, has been somewhat of a letdown.
Go ahead, Sean.
Well, I was going to ask about Phil Taylor, since we're on the topic of rotating guys in and out. How big do you think that loss is? It seemed like he might have played his way up to the top of the depth chart potentially. We might have had something going at nose tackle there. Losing him for the season, what do you think?
Yeah, it really sucks because it was such a good story of he was that first round bust guy, and he'd struggled with injuries, and he was just working his way back. He'd come back home and he'd finally worked his way back up, and it looked like everything was on the upswing, and then an injury happens, and it's part of football, but it is the worst, or one of the worst parts of football. It's hard to say how much of a miss it will be, because they played most of last year without a real true nose tackle. And, that doesn't sort of ring any confidence into anyone, because, last year they were horrifically
terrible.
Bad. But you can, I don't want to say you can get away without a nose tackle, but when you're in a passing league in most of the time in nickel, you don't have a nose tackle anyway. Right. In base fronts, yes, you would like one. And what Taylor gave them was a big body that could do both one gapping and two gapping if they wanted to do that. And I think they had him doing a bit more two gapping than they've had being done in the past. But that doesn't necessarily mean someone else can't move inside. They've got Stacey McGee, as I said, is a big-bodied guy that can stop the run, and maybe you could kick him inside to nose tackle, although I like him at end. If you want a more of a penetrating guy, maybe this is where McClain gets his chance to step up. Because I don't know about you guys if you've noticed it, I felt he's looked a bigger body than what he was in Dallas.
Yes.
Because I remember him being a 300-pound, slim, quick, penetrating defensive tackle, and he looks far more than 300 pounds right now, let's say.
Well, that's not the role they're playing him with. Now, am I the only one that's high on Joey Mbu? I mean, he and, for that matter, Jay Francis, both are sort of true nose tackle shaped, if you will. But I've been impressed personally with what Mbu has brought to the table. He seems like he's penetrated, made some good plays. Are either one of those two guys going to be able to step up to fill Phil Taylor's shoes?
Yeah, they certainly have a chance. I mean, that it's the golden opportunity for them. I personally like Mbu a little bit more than Francis. I've seen the couple of times I've noticed Francis has been for not good reasons. So I'll leave that at that. Mbu, I have, right. Mbu, I haven't picked up as much, but when I've seen him, he's been in his gap and occupied his man, sort of thing, which is basically what a nose tackle's job is to do. So, it's potentially his chance. I would guess. I mean, yesterday, when Taylor went out, the first guy that took the rep was Ziggy Hood, and then I think the following series, AJ Francis came in. So I would guess they'd probably prefer to go with a guy like Hood or kick Mcclain or McGee inside. But I would imagine both Mbu and Francis have a pretty good chance of making the roster now, and they'll be certainly there as an option.
The $1 million question on the defensive line, of course, is the development of Jonathan Allen, the first-round draft pick out of Alabama. To me, in my inexpert opinion, he's looked like a rookie at times, and he's also shown flashes of his greatness. I'm not sure he's really there yet, which nobody should expect him to be at this stage. What have you seen in Jonathan Allen this preseason?
Yeah, he hasn't been a spectacular player so far. He's been in the run game. He's still very, very solid, and you'd expect that coming out of Alabama. He's always going to be that solid run defender, which Redskins have needed for years. As a pass rusher, he does still have a little bit to go, but when he kicks inside in nickel situations, him and Matt Ioannidis have both looked promising. They both had some really nice flashes. They both need to be a little bit more consistent, and some of that will come just from playing more regularly. Neither have, obviously, Allen's a rookie and Ioannidis has hardly played many snaps last year, so that'll come with experience. But I think he'll be absolutely fine. He's on the right path, and I have no worries that he's going to not develop into the quality player that he can be.
Hey, Mark, are you all in on the whole Brown and Foster combo at inside linebacker? I know that's where all the fans seem to be now, is that they want to see those two all the time. Where are you?
I think that combination seemed to have worked for the two preseason games they've been the starters, so I have no issues with that. I know fans love to hate on Will Compton. I've not had any issues with Will Compton. The thing with linebackers is that so much of their play is dictated by what goes on in front of them, and the defensive line has been so poor that it can make linebackers look even worse. So I think fans slightly overreact to what Will Compton is. That being said, I think Foster probably has played a little bit better in that Mike spot than Compton has, and so I think he probably deserves that spot. And if something happens to Foster, then Will Compton will come in and he'll be just as reliable, and they'll be fine there as well.
Just as a funny aside, I don't know if we told the audience this, but we tried to get Will Compton to listen to this show one time, and he was soliciting ideas for podcasts, and he said something to the effect of, "Why the hell would I want to listen to a Redskins podcast?"
Yeah. Or a podcast
like
by
that.
Redskins fans, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Right.
Here's my big defensive back, secondary question. It's bugged me for years. It seems like the Redskins corners in particular, no matter who you throw out there, are really good at giving up a lot of underneath catches in the 5, 6, 7, 8 yard range that I don't see other good secondaries do. And Josh Norman does it. Even he's given up several in this preseason. Am I just dreaming this, or being negative, or what?
You're not dreaming it. It certainly happens. But sometimes by design of the defense is to make the offense throw those short passes and get down and make tackles. I mean, that is what a zone defense is predicated on, is being able to protect deep, solidifying and forcing the quarterback to check it down or throw those shorter routes underneath, and then everyone rally to the ball and try to tackle. And if you've got more than one guy there, try to maybe rip out a fumble and get a turnover. So that's what zone defenses are sort of built around. I do agree they do sometimes play a little bit more conservatively than they have to, the corners. And they can, I think that can a lot of the time be down to the lack of trust in safeties over the top that can protect them over the top, because they And some of it will come down to the scheme as well. Being if you're in a cover 3 scheme, then you have the deep third responsibility, so you just can't let the guy get behind you because you have no protection. But if you're in a scheme where you're meant to have a safety behind you, but you don't trust the guy, then you're naturally going to play further off, be a little bit more conservative, and make sure the receiver is staying underneath and not running a double move or what have you before you break on it and try to make the tackle. But this year, hopefully, with Swearinger back there, and if Cravens can develop, or Shays or Everett, if Cravens is still injured. Hopefully with those guys back there, they've shown a lot more promise, and hopefully that will develop the trust so that they can have the corners play a little bit more aggressively, and break on those underneath routes and perhaps challenge the catch point a little bit more.
Hey, Mark, I just want to kind of ask one question that it's been on my mind. It's a question I keep on asking other people. Who do you think you're going to be your big surprise for making the roster?
For in general, or
in
from
general, offense or defense? Do you have anyone that you think is an under the radar, kind of player?
I don't know about one specific player. I think in terms of numbers, I could say that I personally have them keeping 5 safeties and 6 corners, which potentially is somewhat of an outlier compared to everyone else. I think most people would normally have 5 corners and maybe 5, more likely 4 safeties. But I don't think the reason I say that is because I think Halsey has shown enough this preseason, and he's had enough good reports from training camp where I think he's earned a roster spot. But to give him a roster spot, if you're only keeping 5 corners, you'd have to cut one of Dunbar, or you're not going to cut Fuller, he's a starter. You're not going to cut Moreau because he's the 3rd round pick, and Breland and Norman are your starters. So you'd have to cut Dunbar, and they've put in so much work with Dunbar, and he still has a ton of potential that I wouldn't be willing personally to give up on the work that they've done on him and the potential that he has.
And
I don't think
they're a great special teams guy for us, which
exactly
forget about that. That's
exactly
an important little factor.
Very much so. So yeah, I think that would. I think they would want to keep Dunbar, and I think Halsey's earned a spot. So that for me would mean I'd keep 6 corners, but I wouldn't want to go below the 5 safeties either. I think D'Angelo Hall starts on PUP. You've got Swearinger, Everett, and Cravens as your 3 locks.
Right.
I think you then go Blackman and Monte Nicholson as your other 2. And I don't think they want to cut either one of those. Obviously, Nicholson was their draft pick.
Right.
And Blackman, I think they like as a guy that they can count on as sort of a leader, and in a pickle they can shift him back to corner or keep him at safety.
We interviewed Blackman at training camp, and Jamal did, and he sort of indicated he was a little bit worried about even making the roster. Which I guess isn't surprising considering his contract situation.
Actually,
but I do agree that
you interviewed him there.
Oh, was it? I'm sorry. I knew one of us did. But my real question to me, sort of the star of the rookie class has been Fabien Moreau, just because he's exhibited so much athleticism, and he stuck with AJ Green, at least once in the game against the Bengals. I think he's got a ton. Yeah, I think he's got a ton of potential. Am I wrong? Am I right?
I agree. He has a ton of potential. I wouldn't say he's necessarily been the star of the rookie class, but I think he's definitely got a ton of potential, and he has shown well. I think he's shown he is a little bit raw at times, which is what the thought on him coming out of college was. And he'll take a little bit to develop. In college, he only really played one system and one main coverage, and that was pretty much he was in press man coverage the entire time. Occasionally he played off, and they played the zone things if they're 3rd and 20 and they want to run a cover 2 to make sure. But for the most part, it was press man. Whereas with the Skins, he's going to have to play He's going to have to play off because they're playing off more regularly. He's going to have to play deep third for cover 3. He's going to have to play underneath zone with cover 2, a deep quarter for quarters and what have you. He's going to have to play all these different zone coverages and the different pattern matching coverages as well, where he has to read multiple receivers and pick up the guy that he's meant to and that kind of thing. So he's got a lot of different things that he'll have to learn. But I agree, he's definitely showed that fantastic athleticism. The special teams play he made the other week was incredible.
Awesome.
The play that stood out to me was the deep, what would have been touchdown pass that he broke up. I think that kind of showed everything that you need to see from him right now, which was he had a little mistake in letting the guy jump off the line of scrimmage without really getting a hand on him. But it didn't
kept
really
his awareness kept with him.
Well, he has the speed to make up for that, which when I watched him in college, the most impressive thing to me was just how patient he was at the line of scrimmage, waiting for wide receivers to declare their route before he would move. And because he can be that patient because he has the ridiculous speed that he has, he can recover if a receiver beats him off the line of scrimmage, and that's what we saw. And he wasn't in the best position to defend it, and he was a little bit late turning back to locate the ball, although he did better with that than he did earlier in the preseason. But he got his hand in at the catch point, and he knocked it away, and he broke it up. So we saw both the good and the bad of him there, and tons of potential, clearly. But he still has a little bit to go.
I saw a lot of that from him in training camp, too, by the way. The ability to recover from a mistake and still make a play on the ball. It seems like that's something he has a talent for.
It's huge. It's huge for any defensive back to be able to.
And rare. Not all of them can do it.
Yeah, I mean, most guys that have 4.3 speed go, well, I'm going to play on offense and run past these corners.
Right.
But to have that 4.3 speed as a corner is huge, and it allows you to be more aggressive and recover from those mistakes that you might make from being over aggressive. And if it's not a mistake and you're over aggressive and you break on a route, you might be able to get away with an early jump and an interception sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, tons of potential, but a long way to go. But a bit of a way to go sounds like a good way to describe the full team at large. So maybe with that, unless you guys have any other questions to ask of Mark specifically about this game or preseason, maybe we should get bold here and do a couple season predictions. What do you guys think?
Predictions sure to go wrong.
Yeah.
Sure to go wrong. We know what happens to the best laid plans, but let's try. We got the expert with us. Mark's here. He can guide us through it.
Don't call me the expert. Don't put that on me.
Well, and you don't understand what company you're in. You are the expert in this company.
It's not a high bar, okay?
No.
So I don't know. How do you guys want to do it? Alex, do you want to read through you said you had the schedule pulled up. Do you want to read through that, or should we all just give a number and then our reasonings?
No,
what do you think?
I think what we always do is we go through the schedule pretty quickly, and everyone just says win or loss, and we'll do it that way. Don't take a ton of time to explain it. Just
otherwise we'll be here 3 hours.
Yeah, because the first time we did it, it literally took us 3 hours. We also had 5 people on the show, which was
oh god. Okay, that would have
come a long way.
Yeah,
we're planning on the fly here. So Sean, why don't you want to read off the games and we'll go around and
I'll
say.
read off the games. I haven't.
You do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Go for
All right. So game 1, September 10th, 1:00 versus the Eagles. Sean, why don't you go first? We'll save Mark for last since he's our guest.
I think we are going to win the first matchup against the Eagles.
Steve?
Yep.
Oh yeah, win definitely.
All right,
I'm
it's
also
the
Eagles.
saying win. Mark, what about you?
Yeah, I'm taking win. And can I know we don't want this to go on, but can I just quickly make a note on why the hell is Lane Johnson being the guy that's talking trash before
It's
a game?
funny you brought that up.
Yeah.
We were going to talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was going to be our end of the show discussion.
I really don't understand it. Like, of all the positions, a right tackle to be the guy that's talking trash, like a corner you expect from a wide receiver, maybe a linebacker or a defensive end, not a right tackle.
No,
especially one that has been suspended previously for PEDs and whatnot. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. But oh well.
I heard the punter and the kicker were busy. They didn't want to talk trash. That was the problem.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Game number 2, 4:30 at the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah.
I'm like St. Louis.
It's going to take a while.
Yeah.
It's going to take a while to get
not
used to saying that.
Yeah. So go again, Sean. Rams.
Yeah, I'm gonna say we are going to also win that. Meaning, yes, I am predicting we're gonna go 2-0 to start this season. Yeah, win at Los Angeles.
Steve.
Yeah, I refuse to believe we can lose to the Rams. Even in Los Angeles, even with the heavy travel. So I'm going for the good start for once and a win.
All right, Mark.
I don't like the they usually screw up after a big win in a division, so I'm going to say they take a loss and McVay gets one over on them.
Oh, okay, all right. That's
Woo!
It's not an easy one to say loss on, though. Let's be honest.
Yeah, well, I probably think higher the Rams and probably McVay more than most people. And, they have a really good defense, and I think the run game will be tough with Todd Gurley, rejuvenated Todd Gurley, at a better offensive line than they had last year, and they've got not quite the weapons that McVay had here, but he certainly got a lot of young potential and weapons that if you don't fully respect and you're not fully prepared for it, they will take you by surprise, and I think that might happen.
Okay. All right, game number 3, the soon-to-be Las Vegas Raiders come to town for a primetime game, 8:30 o'clock, 9:24 is the date on that one. So, Sean, Raiders.
I am going to go for a loss to the Raiders. Now, I have not been following much about the Raiders in the offseason. Did Derek Carr's leg heal into one piece and everything? Is he walking around and
he's a
functioning human being? Yeah, we're going to lose. But also, mostly, it's partially, obviously they're a great team and they finished strong last year, but we're not going to go 3-0 to start the season. When do we ever do that? So we're definitely taking this one as a loss. The last 2 I predicted wins. This is a loss.
Steve?
I'm going to be, I'm usually the negative Nancy on these schedule things on these predictions, but I'm actually positive this year, and it really just has more to do with the way the games line up. The Raiders have to come all the way to the East Coast, which is a tough game. I think Kirk Cousins is going to want to have something to prove playing against Derek Carr, who's his contractual nemesis. So I'm actually going to predict, and it's a night game. I realize that I'm going to predict a rare night game win.
Wow, 3-0 to start the season.
3-0.
I'm going loss. I kind of just don't feel that we are going to be able to hang with the Raiders. Mark?
You know what? I'll go optimistic and say win with that one.
Win with that one. All right.
Is anyone keeping track of these?
I am writing it all down.
Okay. I'm going to lose track of what record I've got them.
That's all right.
Give them far too many of
I'm keeping
track. Don't get too
all right,
optimistic,
so
Mark.
October 2nd, 8:30 p.m. game versus the Chiefs at Kansas City.
It's going to be a big fat loss, my friends, because there's nothing more Redskins than going 2-2 into the bye week. It's a loss.
Fair enough. Steve?
For me, I think it's a loss. 3-0 is enough positivity. It's an away game at the Chiefs.
Chill the fuck out, Steve.
Andy Reid, defenses, I think it's a loss.
Yeah, I think I'm going loss too. So, Mark?
Can I change my Raiders win to a loss and give the Chiefs one a win?
We'll
I forgot they're
that,
playing
sure.
Chiefs.
If you want to switch them?
Sure.
All
so
right.
I'll say they go to 1-2 through the first 3 weeks, but then they tie it up to 2-2 by the bye week.
All right. All right, so Mark's changing that up. That's fine. October 15th, after the bye week, we have the 49ers come to town.
They're going to lose in the bye week, too.
Oh, well, I'll be on vacation in the bye week, so,
You're not going to be on our bye week spectacular episode,
No, I'm going to be in
Alex.
the Bahamas.
Oh, he's going to be winning off the field for sure.
Yeah,
bye
so
week.
there we go. But, all right, so 49ers, can I just assume everyone's going to say win, or does anyone disagree?
Are you going to assume?
Yeah.
You're not even going to ask me?
I'm going to assume that you're going to say we crush Kyle Shanahan.
I refuse to believe we can lose to the 49ers at home.
Yeah.
What is the point in playing the season if we lose to the 49ers at home?
I do think Kyle Shanahan's going to have them in good shape, and I think that they'll surprise a few teams this year, but I don't think the Skins will be one of the teams that get surprised by them.
All right.
God, I can see it now. That game is going to be the backbreaker. We're going to come out with an L, and we're
going to lose 35
that game.
35-6.
Yeah, it's going to be. I can already feel it coming. Okay, sorry.
We have October 23rd at the Eagles. We're getting those Eagles games in early this year.
You're right. I just realized that. And I had put a win down for this, but that's me. That's sweeping the Eagles. Yeah, I'll stick with that. I think we're going to win. I think we're going to beat the Eagles.
Steve?
Yeah, I agree. Sweep the Eagles. Lane Johnson cursed his team.
All right, I should have said it's a primetime game, so I'm going to say loss because it's primetime, and you know how I feel about primetime.
This is the new optimistic Steve, though. That's why I predicted a win.
Mark?
Yeah, this is weird. You're freaking me out.
I'll go sweep the Eagles. Sweep. Yeah, why not?
All right. October 29th, 4 o'clock game, or 4:30 game, Cowboys.
I am going to say, so
and this
Zeke's going to be back.
Should be back from his suspension.
Yeah, we're going to lose.
All right,
lose. I'm going to say. Because we just came off, I predicted the last 2 as wins. We're definitely going to lose. I don't see us winning 3 in a row at any point, really. So
okay,
lose.
Steve.
For me, I predict loss. It's not that I think the Cowboys aren't going to have a downturn this year. It's just, to me, it makes more sense. We're going to split with the Cowboys home and away. So I'm going loss in this one.
Okay, I mean we're at home in this one.
I understand. I know. I'm saying
so
loss on home.
Switcheroo.
Win
okay,
it.
I got you.
Yeah.
I'm saying win because I cannot stomach putting together a schedule and saying the Cowboys will beat us, even no matter how.
way to be objective.
I'm putting on my Larry Michael hat for that. Mark.
Yeah, loss for me.
Loss. All right.
See, Mark's objective. Take a lesson out.
Never. Not when it comes to Dallas. November 5th, Seahawks on the road.
Say it all together, people. 1, 2, 3.
Loss.
Lose. And I am very, very much considering going to this game with my buddy that lives in Seattle, and I'm going to do that knowing it's a loss. So
I'm considering that as well, actually, Sean.
Are you really? Oh,
yeah.
Dude, it's a plan.
We'll have to look up. Oh, Mark, we just assumed you were lost, Mark. Are you?
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%.
All right. Moving on to the 12th, 1 o'clock, Vikings come to D.C. Where are you? John?
Oh, God, what did I put down for this? I put down a loss for this, but I think this is going to be a close game, honestly. I think it's going to be a close game. Ultimately a loss, but not like, they're not going to run away with it. That's what I don't know.
Oh, I think it's a win. Suspect quarterback play. We're at home. Win.
Yeah, I don't have much confidence in the Vikings, so I'm saying win for us.
Oh, neither do I. Trust me. When I predict the Redskins losing, it's not necessarily that I have confidence in the other team. It's more that I have no confidence in our own.
Right.
What do I have as that so far for the record-wise?
You are at 1, 2, 3, 4 losses and 4 wins.
4 and 4. I'll say I think Dalvin Cook and the Vikings are going to be better this year. And Bradford's better than people give him credit for.
You're talking about Sam Bradford, right?
Yeah.
The quarterback used to play at Oklahoma, who isn't a good quarterback. That Bradford.
He's better than people give him credit for.
Okay, you're the expert.
I'll
take your word for it.
So I think they will be tough. This one is one of the harder ones to goal. Someone flip a coin.
You need to flip your own, British pound and tell us.
Yeah.
I've not got one here. I'll go. Wait, are we at home?
Yeah, we're at home.
Go on, I'll give us a win.
All right, win. All right, next game, we are going to the Big Easy. If you guys are going to games, maybe that's the game you should go to.
I may do that
11-19 game, go to the Saints. Or we go to the Saints.
Yeah, I'm going to say loss. Saints are really good at home, and we're not going to be able to keep up.
Sean's got a 4-game losing streak going at this point.
Goddamn right.
I just changed my mind as Sean was talking because I realized it was an away game, so I'm going loss. I was thinking it was at home, but Drew Brees at home, that's not a good thing. So loss.
I understand the fear about Drew Brees, but I also think the Saints are still. I don't see them as a playoff team still, so I'm gonna say win.
Okay.
I'll join in on that optimism, and I'll go win. Hoping that their defense still hasn't bounced back from the horror that it was last year. And they added some pieces in the draft and whatnot in the offseason, but hopefully they will kind of come together by then.
Sure. All right, so November 23rd, 8:30 p.m. Giants come to TC. So primetime game, New York
Primetime
Giants.
game. I am going to say we are going to split it with the Giants. So I'm going to say this one's a win because it's at home.
All right.
Thursday night primetime game, Giants. That's 1,000 yucks for me. So
yeah, you're right. That stinks.
Yeah.
That stinks to high heaven. You're right
that's one too many yucks for me to predict a win in good faith. So loss.
Right. I get
call.
the feeling we're going to be wearing those ugly ass yellow uniforms they wanted to wear, make us wear
Oh
last
God.
year. So
Yeah.
I'm saying loss on just that.
just because based on the uniform.
I'm super superstitious about those things. Sorry, Mark.
No worries. I'm going to go loss as well, but mainly because I've just given them 2 wins and I don't feel good about it. So I'm going to give them. I'm going to give them a loss, even though I think they're more likely to beat the Giants than they are to beat either the Vikings or the Saints.
Yeah. All right. So 11:30, 8:25 at Dallas. Second Cowboys game. Another back-to-back prime times for us.
Oh, boy. I guess I called a loss on the last one. Yeah, loss again. The Cowboys are going to sweep us.
All right. Steve?
Oh, well, I already said that we were going to split with the Cowboys, so I'm predicting a big this is going to be the signature win of the season, the big Thanksgiving Day win at home, or in Dallas, rather. Win.
Sure.
I hope you're right.
I would love to see it, and like I said, I can't predict us losing the Cowboys, even though I also don't like predicting us winning in prime time. I'm going to say
right.
Win.
Although technically speaking, this isn't prime time; it's in the middle of the day, right? You said 11:30.
No, I thought it was 8:30.
I thought you said 11:30. Did you say 8:30?
8:30.
Okay.
Did I say 11:30?
Fred, don't mind us, people. We're just doing a live show. It's all right.
We don't know what
the
we're
date
doing.
is 11:30. Maybe that's.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, was it my turn?
Yes.
Or am I speaking
After all our babble.
I will go with. I think this will be the kind of game that defines the season, whether it kind of kills the season, kills any momentum they have, or if they win it, it will send them off to the playoffs.
Nice.
I don't know. I'll go win. Why not? Let's be optimistic.
Because
All
you set
right.
yourself up for it, so you almost had to say.
I have now said that they win this game, they'll make the playoffs, and I have a feeling I'm going to end up making them go 8-8, and there's no way that makes the playoffs.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes.
Let's move into December real quick. We're at the Los Angeles Chargers at 4:00 on December 10th.
I am. The thing about the Chargers is nobody likes the Chargers, and they don't even like themselves. I'm going to say win.
Win.
They don't even like themselves.
They don't.
Yeah, I predicted win too. I realize it's a West Coast trip, but I can't see losing to the Chargers.
I'm excited for this game for one reason, other than I hate that the Chargers are leaving San Diego, but I will be very interested to see them playing in a 20,000 seat soccer stadium for a couple of years.
I'm curious to see if they fill a 20,000 seat soccer stadium.
Yeah.
All right, Mark, what will happen on the pitch?
Did you say win or lose, Alex?
Win.
What did you say? Win. All right.
The Chargers are always a team that they have a lot of potential at the start of the year, and then they just get decimated by injuries. And by sort of week 5, they have guys that they've picked up off the street playing, like starting at receiver and whatnot. So I assume that's what's going to happen again, and therefore, because they have absolute nobodies playing for them thanks to injuries, I'll give the Skins a win.
All right. 3 games left here on December 17th, 1:00 game. Cardinals are here. So,
Cardinals are here. I have completely lost track of what I'm at in terms of record, but I'm just going to go with it.
6 wins.
Oh, okay. Damn, I feel pretty good about that. Unfortunately, I think this is going to be another loss. Sorry, guys.
All right, Steve.
Yeah, it's a loss for me. Cardinals, tough team, strong running game. Until we prove that we can stop a run game, I got to go loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even though I think their passing game is aging rapidly,
Yep.
I still think that's a good team overall. That's
David Johnson's a stud.
Yeah.
Yeah, David Johnson is a stud, but he is one stud, and they've got potentially 10 other duds playing around him. That's maybe a little bit harsh. Palmer's aging, though, and Larry Fitzgerald's... Did he retire this offseason, or did I make that up in my mind?
I think
you made that up in your mind. Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. So they have 2 studs and quickly aging Palmer.
Right.
I am somewhat down on the Cardinals, so I will give this one as a win to the Skins, even though I think that's just their 3rd win in a row I've given them, which I don't like at all. But
gonna eat those words, and they're gonna taste real bad, Mark.
Yeah.
Right.
He's like, I know. Okay.
Christmas Eve, Broncos here in Washington, D.C. at 1 o'clock.
Merry Christmas, Denver. You get the win. That's the moral. That's the moral to that one. Yeah, God, I'm predicting a lot of losses, but no, I think the Broncos easily win this game.
Yeah, it's a Broncos win. I mean, questionable quarterbacking, outstanding defense. Yeah, I don't think the Redskins can win this game.
Yeah, I think the Broncos will have figured out their quarterback situation by the second to last game of the season. I think that's a loss for us, too.
Yeah.
I like a lot of the Broncos. I really don't like their quarterback situation.
It was really hot and cold at last year.
I have a feeling they might have gone through 2 or 3 guys by the time they come to town. Are they coming here or are we going there?
They're coming here.
Okay, I like how I'm saying here when I'm in England.
Maybe they'll play in England. You never know. We did it last year.
Hey, to be fair, Sean is in the Denver area, so like.
That's true. That's
right.
true.
That's right.
There's no way I can give us 4 wins on the trot, even though this is probably the most likely of the 4. But yeah, I'll go loss.
All right.
Even though I hate their quarterback situation.
Yeah, I don't think anybody likes their quarterback situation.
No. The Jets do. The Jets are envious of their quarterback situation.
Yeah. So true.
Okay, so final game, New Year's Eve at New York Giants.
Yeah.
I
can't remember.
Season.
Can you remind me what because I know I said we're going to split it. I said we won the last
season
one
right now, Sean. Are we 7-9 or 6-10?
No, we're going to be 7 because I couldn't remember if I predicted the last one as a win. I think I did predict we would beat the New York first. So yeah, this will be a loss. Or no, wait, did I predict?
Hold on.
What did I predict?
You said win the first time we play them.
Win the first time. Okay, so loss.
Lost. All right,
Shit.
so that means you say 6-10 this year.
Ouch.
All right.
Well, I'm sticking with it.
I refuse to believe we can lose to the Giants for the 2nd year in a row in a game at the last game of the season that has playoff implications. So
always play them.
I'm going win.
Sorry, hang on. I want to interrupt there. You refuse to believe that they're going to do that 2 years in a row?
Okay, well, you're right. I'm
Really?
sorry. I'm trying to. Mark, this is the new optimistic Steve. I keep telling you this.
I'd like to point out the new optimistic Steve is 9-7, so that's the level of optimism.
I predicted like 6-10 a couple years ago, so this is optimistic.
Whew. God, I feel bad. I feel bad about my prediction.
Also
but seriously, here's my point. You really think we're going to lose to the Giants twice and week 17 again, and it's going to affect our playoff chances again? That's so depressing. I can't take it.
I think we will already not be in the playoffs at that point. I should have clarified.
Well,
I don't think
you say we're going 6-10. Yes, you think that.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna say it's a loss because it's in New York, and I just have no faith in that. So 8-8 for me. Mark, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 wins already predicted.
I have 9. Jesus Christ. Okay, so this is 100% a loss because I cannot have them going 10 wins.
Yeah.
What have I done?
You
I have no idea.
yourself into a corner there, Mark. That's what
I really have. That's horrible. But
you want to go back and remodify your predictions to fit your expectations?
I mean, I'd have to do every single game. So
just close your eyes, point to any game. It could vary. Any of them could be a devastating one.
Pretty much what I've done for this process. So
that's where I was come with the Vikings thing.
Yeah,
I'm predicting it as a loss for no reason other than it's just going to be a loss.
No one predicted a tie this year, even though we had a tie last year.
Okay, we'll change that last one to a tie then. We won't lose, we'll tie.
A 0-0 tie with the Giants to end
Yeah.
the season.
God.
I could see it.
Blizzard game. They don't move the ball.
Yeah. Okay. Well, honestly, saying six wins sounds a little short, but I'm
That's
going
going to be a firing, right?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely.
I just realized that I predicted 10-6. I really didn't mean to do that.
Yeah,
but
you psychopath.
It came out. That's how it came out. I told you guys a million times. I do this game by game.
No,
I don't,
I
game
had
by
it
game.
9-7. What?
Oh, really? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, this is why I win the game every year, Steve.
Yeah, 9-7. I had 9-7. But I mean, I don't know if I meant 9-7 either, frankly. But it is what it is.
Just think about what would be nice, a nice amount of wins, and then take 3 away. That's how I usually look at it.
Right. What would make you happy, and how can we make sure you're not happy?
Yeah.
That's what the Redskins tend to do to the fan base.
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll put those online so people can hold us to it. So there's accountability here. We're all about accountability here.
We're gonna put Mark on. We're gonna put Mark's online.
Don't put my name to that. Christ.
Okay, we'll leave Mark off to spare him.
It's already on vinyl now.
You can put it on there. Don't worry.
I put super secret guest.
Guess that you can listen to right here. You can follow them on Twitter with this link.
Well, I think we were gonna chat about this smack talk thing real quick for a couple minutes. Mark, we want to be respectful of your time, so if you have to bounce on out of here, by all means do that. But we'd love, we're gonna wrap up.
Go for it.
Here.
Go for it.
Okay, cool.
As long as you want.
Yeah.
Well, the Lane Johnson thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
we mentioned it. We mentioned earlier, but I thought the funny thing about the Lane Johnson thing was that Zach Brown's response was, "Yeah, we don't need PEDs to win." Of course, he's forgetting about his front seven teammate who's suspended for the use of PEDs.
Right.
Which I thought was sadly ironic.
Delicious.
Well, of course, the funny thing is, he may be saying, yeah, we use PEDs, but we don't really need them to win.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where he's going with it.
That's right. He didn't say we didn't have them. We didn't take them. Yeah, just that we don't need to take them.
Right.
I agree with that. Yeah, I don't know. God, quit your smack talk. And I don't think the Eagles or the Redskins should be talking much smack right now, frankly.
I mean, you're talking about one team that was a half win over 500, and the other one was 6-10 last year.
Yeah, exactly. No one should talk any
Well,
smack.
the Eagles fan base tends to talk a ton of smack for rooting for a team that's never won anything ever.
That's true. They do have.
It's overcompensation, Steve. It's
What else are those people overcompensating for?
Oh, we don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Well, so I say we spend a couple minutes either talking about Game of Thrones or talking about this Mayweather-McGregor fight, because these were the two biggest things in my life from this past weekend. What do you guys think?
We got to do Mayweather-McGregor because we have a genuine European person on the show here.
This is true. This is true. So, were you a big McGregor guy, Mark?
No, not at all. I wanted both guys to get knocked out at the exact same time.
Knock each other out.
If I'm totally
that would have
honest.
been worth the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't like either guy. And that people will say that's a political standpoint or what have you, but I think they're both kind of terrible human beings. So I was kind of happy to see either one lose, but I wanted at least someone to get knocked out. And I just hate that we're seeing either one of them sort of glorified afterwards, and kind of forget about the kind of things that they've said and done.
But I was kind of torn, because McGregor was, basically a racist throughout the entire build-up process, and he's generally just a horrible person to me. But Mayweather was abused his wife, and you can't ever forget or forgive that. And so I kind of agree with you. It would have been great to see them both knocked out, but in the absence of rooting for that, I had to root for the American, just out of ethnic pride or something. But I reluctantly did it, and I was ashamed to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly kind of agree with Mark. I'm not a big fan of either one of their personalities, although I will say I thought it was awfully suspect how kind and gracious they both were immediately after the fight. Kind of puts into perspective that the whole thing was a showmanship, publicity.
Oh, of course.
The whole thing was
Even at the end, though, McGregor made a racist statement to him right after the fight. Did you guys catch this?
He said I turned him into a Mexican, right? Was what he said.
I was like, yeah. I mean, come on.
He was referring to the way that Mexican boxers tend to box, but it was
stereotyping an entire ethnic.
I don't even know
it was
what
a stupid
means,
comment.
So
Exactly.
I don't either.
It was a stupid comment. No, yeah, no one got it anyway, so It was pretty stupid. But
that was really racist, but I don't know what it means.
Yeah, I just don't know in exactly what way it was, but I know it was. Yeah, I don't know. I think, you know what? I will say this, though, about the fight, guys, and tell me if you disagree. I thought it ended up being a very interesting fight. I thought it was more interesting than Pacquiao versus Mayweather. I thought that was way more boring than this. I thought this was exciting. I agree with how it ended. I predicted it to be this way, but I thought it was a great fight.
Well, I'm a huge boxing fan. I'll give you 10 seconds of legitimate boxing fan analysis. I thought McGregor was a much better fighter than I expected him to be. I thought his style was very unusual. His arms were at very weird angles, and he was punching. And I think, though, that frankly Mayweather played with him for about 2 rounds. And if you guys notice, he had no offense at all for the first 2 rounds. He was kind of feeling him out, getting used to the angles, letting McGregor wear himself out. And then at the end of it all, I think Mayweather just dominated the last final rounds. And I think we can conclude that McGregor's power isn't anything special in terms of boxing. It may be great for UFC, but his punching power in a boxing ring was nothing special. And, Mayweather proved he can be a bruiser, at least for one last fight, because he came dead directly at McGregor for the past about 7 rounds, backed him down consistently into the corner. And no matter what McGregor said, he did hurt him there at the end. So that's my thumbnail sketch of it.
Yeah, I think that's I don't know if any of you guys have thoughts about it too. I thought that's a pretty fair assessment, although I think they scored the first 4 to McGregor, the first 3 at least. And then after that, I think it was pretty clear, that Mayweather had it. But look, you train for 9 months in boxing and you dance for 10 rounds with one of the greatest all time. I think you more than proved that you are a capable, fighter.
Absolutely.
And if he sticks with it, I think it would be interesting to see what he can do in the future. But this was a clear loss for him. And, I thought it was great. I hope people don't think I'm a chump for saying that. And don't worry, I didn't pay the $100. I watched it illegally on Facebook like all of you did. But it was good. It was good. It was entertaining.
Well, I mean, UFC, they don't go that long to ever, right? I mean, UFC...
25 minutes.
Well, McGregor in particular has never finished a fight.
Yeah.
He knocks out guys in like the first 10 seconds most of the time.
Right.
McGregor.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
As a matter of fact, I think the stat was he'd gone 21 minutes total in all of his UFC fights, I think is what it was.
Oh, really?
I think so, yeah.
No,
is that right, Mark? Does that sound right to you? I think that was what the stat was.
Didn't he? I think he went a couple of rounds with Diaz the second time, didn't he?
I think he went a couple times, both times with Diaz, didn't he?
So maybe I think it might have been. Yeah, it might have been something with the Diaz. Like up until then, that sounds about right. But I think the Diaz fight went on a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Because he didn't knock out Diaz the second time, did he? Wasn't that a judge's decision?
I don't know. I can't remember. I shouldn't say.
It was a stoppage, yeah. Or I can't remember.
Either way.
He won, but I don't remember how. Okay, well, anyways, let us know what you thought, folks.
Can I ask you guys, as you guys know more about boxing than I do, have you guys seen Anthony Joshua, the British guy, the heavyweight?
I have not seen him, no.
I haven't, though I've heard the name.
He is becoming a huge name over here, and he had a fight a few months ago that caught attention sort of internationally, and he has been basically working his way up, knocking everyone out in sort of the first 2 or 3 rounds, and someone finally took him into sort of round 7 or 8, but he still managed to knock them out. And
he's a boxer or MMA, did you say?
Boxer.
I'll tell you what, the heavyweight division needs a new hero for sure. Maybe he's it, because after Mr. Russian retired this year, there's really nobody in the heavyweight division that's worth a darn.
He fought Klitschko and he beat Klitschko.
Yeah.
He was Klitschko's last fight, and they were going to have a rematch, and then Klitschko retired. So, he's becoming a huge name here, and the thing I like about him most is I hate to make it a character thing, but he's such a good guy outside of the ring. Like, he's like a perfect character guy. He would be what
that's refreshing.
Yeah,
he would be what Scott McClure would call a boxing guy.
Decades.
Yeah. He's squeaky clean outside of the ring, and he's a genuinely good guy. And he doesn't talk trash or anything like that in build-ups. He just goes in the ring, knocks the guy out, and then goes, "Yeah, he was a good fighter, and he was a tough fight, and we're on to the next one," sort of thing. Almost like he was a programmed PR machine, but he's exciting for certainly British boxing fans.
It's like the way people used to play football without all the celebrating and showboating.
Right.
People used to just hand the ball to the ref.
Yeah,
You mean like Joe Namath?
Yeah, sure. I don't know.
I don't mind.
Mr. something. I forgot.
Mr.
Hollywood or something like that.
Keep forgetting how young you people
Broadway.
are. Never mind.
I don't mind the celebrating and whatnot, but the trash talking stuff goes way over the top, especially in boxing. And as we just saw with the McGregor and Mayweather stuff, went way over the top. And I just wondered if Joshua had made any sort of. He hasn't made too many waves in the general average boxing fan over here yet. But we'll have to definitely watch out for him. Yeah, if you can, like the fight versus Klitschko was a really good one. If you have a chance to watch it, so
it's always on YouTube, people.
Yeah,
everything's on YouTube. This will be on YouTube.
Yeah, that's a meta joke since they're listening to it on YouTube right now. All right, cool. Well, we'll let you folks get back to it. Let us know what you thought of the Mayweather-McGregor fight. Tweet at us or something. We'd love to talk to you there. Make sure you're checking it out with the website. Thank you so much for being with us, Mark, and we will see you guys next week. We are coming very fast up on the season, and we've got some game previews coming up. So stick with us. It's the Hog Stye.